This evening, I was able to spend some time with a young couple of my acquaintance, and the girl got really excited when her boyfriend got down on one knee and handed her the ring. They take horror movie night very seriously. Well, it's time once again to talk about some horror movies. I've got the May 2023 HorrorPacks. For those of you who don't know, HorrorPack is the monthly horror movie subscription service, and every month they send you horror movies. There's a DVD pack and a Blu-ray pack. Obviously, I get both of them. Each one gives you 4 horror movies, and the Blu-ray pack gives you a HorrorPack exclusive of some sort. And here on this channel, I like to open these up. Clearly, I have not done so yet, so I will be discovering at the very same time as y'all what I've got for this month. So let's get right to it. So while I open these up, let me just remind you to do all the YouTube-y things. Like and share this video, subscribe, ring that notification bell. I've been teasing for a while that there's a very big announcement coming soon. That is true, and I'm still teasing it a little bit. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I'll be prepared to make a formal announcement very soon, and I think y'all are going to be excited, so, stick around and keep watching my videos for that news. I will also remind you that if you're interested in any of these movies that I'm pulling out of the horror packs, there will be purchase links down in the What's It, so you can check out the movies for yourself, get a copy if you're interested. But I've now got both packs open, so let's get right to the DVD and Blu-ray HorrorPacks for May 2023. I like to begin with the DVD packs. That's this one, so let's dive right in. The first one to come out is a film called Skinwalker. The tagline says, "A curse won't stay buried." I am unfamiliar with this film. I am familiar with the legend of the Skinwalker, so if this is indeed about that legend, it should be interesting. Let's read the description and find out. It says, after looting a Native American burial site, suggesting, of course, that this is based on the legend of the Skinwalker. After looting a Native American burial site, a hunter unleashes the legendary Skinwalker. Yes, a shape-shifting demon onto an unsuspecting world. Once thought to be only a legend, this ancient evil returns from the grave to wreak a terrible vengeance on all who are unfortunate enough to cross its path. Sounds pretty interesting. I have seen several Native American myths and legends and lore being turned into horror stories and horror films lately. Of course, Native American mythology is not one mythology. It's actually many different mythologies, some more closely related than others, but many of them do lend themselves to horror stories, including that of the Skinwalker. Sounds like an interesting film. I'm detecting that the disc is loose in this one. It must have come loose in shipping, but hopefully no harm is done because I'm looking forward to trying this one. That brings us to DVD number 2, which is a film called Killer Therapy. The text on the front says, "Murder is the only thing on his mind, and there are no safe spaces." It's another film with which I'm unfamiliar. Let's read the description of this one. This one says, "Your time is up." After a series of escalating violent incidents, Brian is moved from failed therapist to failed therapist, maturing into a young man still unable to escape his anger issues. Okay. Carrying on, it says, when his life eventually falls apart because of his own choices, and in fact, one's life tends to fall apart because of one's own choices. Yes, external things happen, but we tend to decide our own fates intentionally or otherwise. Carrying on, though, it says, when life eventually falls apart because of his failed choices, Brian blames that series of failed therapists, embracing his dark nature and taking his revenge on everyone who ever wronged him. One by one, finally understanding that accepting who you are inside can be the best therapy. There's some truth to that. Accepting oneself can be good therapy, but I'm going to step out on a limb and say this guy's got the wrong idea and should probably take some more responsibility for his own actions and misfortunes. Nevertheless, it's an intriguing premise, and I think an important one because a lot of people do try to externalize all of the blame for their misfortunes. So it's a psychologically sound premise, but also sounds like a good premise for a horror film, and it sounds quite entertaining. Maybe philosophical, maybe just a violent romp. I don't know, I haven't seen it yet, but either way, I'm all for it, and I'm looking forward to trying Killer Therapy. And then, of course, we have DVD number 3, which is a double feature. It's called Shark. We have Bad CGI Sharks and House Shark. I'm really excited about this. I have seen Bad CGI Sharks. I have not seen House Shark. Bad CGI Sharks, I gotta tell you, is one of my favorite B-grade, low-budget horror movies. These guys knew exactly what they were doing, and they made a work of genius. We interviewed them on my podcast, the Do You Like Scary Movies podcast, I don't know, a few months back. There's a link down to that in the What's It as well, so check that out, because they were a good interview. It was an entertaining show. But this movie is really great stuff. And it's called Bad CGI Sharks. Some of the CGI is actually kind of okay and rivals a lot of the stuff we see in serious movies, but they knew their limitations, and they made a movie within those limitations and just ran with those limitations because they knew they were not making Jaws again, they were making bad CGI sharks. And so it's a sort of loving tribute to the bad CGI we see in all the sharksploitation films. There's a wonderful scene sort of midway through the movie where the characters are being pursued by one of these bad CGI sharks, and the shark is starting to catch up, and then it sort of pauses and skips back, and then you read across the screen, rendering, because of course it's a bad CGI shark. This is that kind of a movie, and I didn't know when I first saw it, although I learned when we interviewed him on the podcast, most of these guys are not professional filmmakers. These were just guys that decided to make a movie, and they ended up doing something that is better than what a lot of professionals do. So check out Bad CGI Sharks for sure. That one I really like. House Shark, I don't know. But I guess for the interest of completion, I'll read the descriptions of both films for you so we know what we're in for. So for Bad CGI Sharks, it says, when two estranged brothers, uptight Matthew and free-spirited Jason, reunite after years apart, they have much more to worry about than just clashing personalities. A magical muse brings their unfinished childhood script to life, and soon a poorly rendered shark is floating through their neighborhood, thirsty for blood. As the brothers flee through the night, they're forced to face their broken bond and dashed dreams. Written, produced, and directed by Majama, Bad CGI Sharks is a hilarious meta-take on the sharksploitation genre that ends up being a tribute to creativity itself. Think watching bad shark movies sucks? Try living one. That's a pretty fair description. Like I said, that's a good one. And then for House Shark, it says, when Frank finds his happy home under attack by a dangerous but largely unknown breed of shark, he enlists the help of the world's only house shark expert, Zachary, and a grizzled former real estate agent, Abraham, to embark on a desperate quest to destroy the beast and claim back his life. It's like Jaws, but in a house. From writer-director Ron Bonk, produced by Ron Bonk and Jonathan Straighten. So, very similar, sort of self-aware, bad sharksploitation movie from the sound of it. I'm all kinds of excited. Like I said, Bad CGI Sharks is great. House Shark sounds great as well. I'm very much looking forward to re-watching Bad CGI Sharks, because I can never get enough of it. And I'm looking forward to trying House Shark. And finally, for the DVD pack, we have a film called The House on Cuckoo Lane. Once again, this is one with which I'm unfamiliar. Looks like maybe a haunted house story or maybe a slasher story. We have a haunted looking house, but we also have a masked sort of slasher-esque character in front of the house. So let's read the description and see which it actually is. The description on the back of this one says, you can't rewind your mind. I'm not sure whether that's true or not, but we're going to just go with it. It then carries on to say, for film geek Sean Costello, The House on Cuckoo Lane is an obsession. He has recurring nightmares about the tape and its horrific contents despite never having laid eyes on it. Okay, so The House on Cuckoo Lane is a film. It carries on to say, his obsession forces him to scour the video underground in search of this forbidden video. but Sean will soon discover that the thrill of the hunt is often greater than the reward. This is true. He finds a copy of the film in an abandoned house in the woods, the very house where the film was supposedly shot. The more Sean watches the tape, the more his sanity crumbles. A series of violent and terrifying scenarios ensue, and he is tormented by animal-masked demons that appear from nowhere. The demons close in for the kill, and after a horrific car accident, Sean is forced into the woods and into the derelict house on Cuckoo Lane. Can Sean overcome the video demons, or will his obsession ultimately destroy him? So this seems like it's combining several things. We have all heard of those sort of mythological movies, a lot of the shot-on-video stuff. We've heard rumors of things like snuff films, and there's a whole sort of underground video culture. So this is playing on that, and there's been some horror movies about that idea in the past as well. It sounds like we also have a kind of slasher-esque element with these animal masked, apparently they're demons, but they seem like they're behaving sort of like slashers. And then we've got the creepy house, which may not actually be a haunted house, but it certainly sounds like it has some of those elements. I don't know if I've ever seen all of those elements combined together before, so I'm intrigued and looking forward to trying the house on Cuckoo Lane. And that brings us, of course, to this Blu-ray pack. We can see there are 4 Blu-rays inside. I'm excited to see what I've got, so let's jump right into the Blu-rays. The first of which is, it's one of the Annabelle movies. This is Annabelle Creation. I've gotten, I think, most of the Conjuring and Annabelle movies out of HorrorPacks before, and I have all of the rest of them anyway. And because they've shown up in so many of these HorrorPacks, I suspect I've started to bore y'all with my commentary, so I'll be brief. I won't go into my overall thoughts, except just very briefly to say, not really based on the true story like they claim to be, but pretty good movies anyway. This one, Annabelle Creation, is sort of the origin story of the evil Annabelle doll. Let me just go ahead and read the description on it for you. The description says, "You've seen her destroy lives. Now, the fear-makers behind The Conjuring dare you to experience the terrifying story of how she was created. Several years after the tragic death of their young daughter, a doll maker and his wife welcome a nun and 6 girls from a shut-down orphanage into their home. What seems like the answer to their prayers becomes a curse, as their new guests become targets of the possessed creation, Annabelle." It doesn't really tell you a whole lot about the action of the movie, but it pretty much tells you what you need to know. It's an Annabelle movie. Evil haunted doll tries to kill people, and that's, you know, I'm underplaying it and I'm making it sound worse than it is, but they're decent movies. There's probably been too many of them at this point, but they're still decent movies, and this is no exception. Certainly worth a watch. Moving right along, we have a film I'm not familiar with. This one is called Emily, and the tagline says, "The babysitter is here." So either somebody is hunting a babysitter or a babysitter is doing some evil things. I'm not sure which it's going to be. Let's read the description and find out. The description on this one says, "As their parents head out for a date in the city, the 3 young Thompson children immediately take to their new babysitter, Anna, who seems like a dream come true. She's sweet, fun, and lets them do things that break all of their parents' rules. As a babysitter probably ought to do, you know. A little bit of harmless rebellion never hurt anyone." Anyway, carrying on it says, "But as Anna's interactions with them take on a more sinister tone, the kids realize that their caretaker may not be who she claims to be, and soon it's up to Big Brother Jacob to protect his siblings from the increasingly nefarious intentions of a very disturbed woman." So that sounds quite intriguing. I've seen a couple of films lately in which babysitters come in and they're not necessarily who they claim to be. I have not seen this one, but that is a premise that I think is a really good setup for a horror movie. So as long as the execution is good, I think we're in for some really good things. Looking forward, as I am with so many of them, to trying Emily. And then the third out of the Blu-ray pack is a movie called The Turning. This one, looks very familiar to me. I know I've not seen it. I think I've seen the cover or the poster, or maybe heard a review or something. But that's about as far as my memory is going to carry me. I don't remember anything about what I may have read about it, so I don't really know anything about it. It does say it includes an alternate ending, and the description on the back says, "The Turning stars Finn Wolfhard and Mackenzie Davis in a thrilling adaptation of Henry James's landmark novel. At a mysterious estate in the Maine countryside, a newly appointed nanny is charged with the care of two disturbed orphans. She quickly discovers that both the children and the house are harboring dark secrets, and things may not be as they appear." So it seems like sort of the opposite of its predecessor out of the pack. It seems like in this case, the new nanny, not a babysitter, but a nanny, so different but similar enough. In this case, the new nanny comes to the house and finds that the house and its inhabitants are not what they seem, whereas in the previous one, in Emily, it's the babysitter who's not what she seems. So I'm actually looking forward to trying both of these side by side and experiencing the sort of, let's say, opposing narratives, but both of them sound good. This one looks really familiar, and of course it's based on a Henry James novel, so as long as the filmmaking is up to par, the source material is great, so I think we're in for a treat, and I'm looking forward to trying The Turning. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, we have what must be the HorrorPack exclusive. That's a film called Prosper. It says it's exclusive number 83, according to the number on the spine. Now, of course, this is one I'm unfamiliar with. I tend to be unfamiliar with these exclusives because a lot of times these are films that didn't get a very wide release, and that's what I love about the HorrorPack in general, but particularly with these Blu-ray exclusives, is that it gives me the opportunity to discover some new films that I wouldn't otherwise have discovered. Case in point being this one. I never even heard of it, but let's go ahead and read the description and see what it's all about. The back of the Blu-ray says, "An ancient darkness. The rumored daughter of Sarah Good, the first witch to be tried and hung during the Salem witch trials," and points for historical research. The Salem witches were hanged, not burned, so they got it right. But that's really neither here nor there, so we'll carry on. The rumored daughter of Sarah Good, the first witch to be tried during the Salem witch trials, lives and commands the spirit world at her fingertips. Irene, as she is known, must sacrifice the lives of a small group of youths every 30 years for preserving her own youthful appearance, powers, and prosperity. On this day, Irene sets the bait for Dalton, an unassuming young man looking for closure in his brother's accidental death. She promises Dalton the allure of reconnecting with his deceased sibling, while suggesting he bring his friends along for the show. Sam, Dalton's closest friend, ignores the warning signs, tags along for the ride, and finds herself the only person left alive after a night of gruesome events. And then it says, "The last witch of Salem feasts tonight." So I'm hoping that description didn't really just give away the entire plot of the movie. I'm going to trust that there's more to it than just what was described. But either way, it sounds intriguing. I will be the first to admit the Salem witch trials have been over-portrayed in horror, but as much as the market is sort of oversaturated with Salem stories, it's for good reason, because that was a particularly dark chapter in history. It lends itself well to a horror story, and witchcraft in general, and particularly witchcraft juxtaposed with the witch hunters, gives us a lot of room to play with a horror story. So I'm looking forward to trying this one as well. Usually these HorrorPack exclusives end up being pretty good, and I'm hoping this one will be as well. So that's Prosper. And so there we have it. 8 wonderful new movies for my collection. Just a couple of which I've seen, and of those, they're pretty good. Bad CGI Sharks is great. Annabelle Creation, maybe not the best of the series, but still pretty good. And then, what I particularly love, the rest of these I haven't seen, so I've got some wonderful treats awaiting me as I head off to my DVD player. While I head off and watch some movies, do be sure to stick around and enjoy the rest of the stuff I've got to offer here on this channel. Check the What's It for purchase links to these and for information about all of my other projects. And as always, take care and stay scared.